Welcome to the Awaken Living podcast. This is episode 8. Today we're going to talk about the best sleep setup. So this has been something that, everybody sleeps. Obviously, we spend a third of our life sleeping. I think it's healthy to take naps in the day too, often like short naps. I think that's really effective. But in this episode, we're basically going to go over everything I know about, sleep, biohacking your sleep, and all things of that nature. So let's just dive right in. Today is a solo show, and I just got my new podcast, desk set up with a new mic and everything. So the sound on here is probably much better than the other episodes and will be this good or better from now on. So thank you guys for being here, and let's jump right in. So if you've been following me for a while, you've probably seen me go through so many stages and phases. So when I first got into like health and spirituality and all things of that nature, I was super hardcore vegan. I didn't take no for an answer when it comes to that kind of stuff. And I was super, militant, probably not, and dogmatic, probably not in healthy ways. And, what this has to do with sleeping is even my sleeping was super dogmatic. I would only sleep on the floor. I was super almost like religious about it. For a while I wouldn't use pillows, and I would read about yogis that would sleep on the floor, that, your spine compresses into the floor as you sleep. And I learned a lot about like the spine when you're sleeping and how important posture is. And I think that there's definitely benefits of sleeping on the floor. No doubt about that. Or on a yoga mat, or on one of those Japanese floor mats. If you who is listening are familiar with those things, there's definitely benefits to those. But I think there's more to it when it comes to sleep. And there's a lot to be talked about when it comes to sleep and what's the best sleep, what's the best setup, or what's the best sleep setup, what's the best time for sleeping. Just, there's the circadian rhythm, there's lighting, there's air when you're sleeping, humidity. There's a lot of factors. So I'm just going to tell you guys everything I've learned and what I'm currently doing and what's worked for me, what is working for me. And as for a lot of these, biohacking style episodes, I'll update them like periodically. If I learn something and change what I'm doing or outgrow something, I'll always, keep the podcast up to date with what I'm doing and all of that. So I'll come back and update it every now and then. And I really want to be straight and forward and to the point, cut through all the fluff. There's a lot of fluff out there with information, and we are in what's called the age of Aquarius for the people who are into astrology watching. I'm pretty into astrology myself. And the age of Aquarius is known as the age of information. So this is a time of so much information overload in good and bad ways. We have all of the information in the world basically at the access of our fingertips, and that can be a good or a bad thing depending on how you use it. And things like this need wisdom applied. So every podcast I do, it's important to me to just cut right to the chase, and they don't have to be very long. So my current sleep setup is, and there's many factors of sleep, which I'll get into. My current sleep setup is I'm using this company's bed called Swiss Dream Bed. It's from Canada, a company out of Canada, and it's all natural. There's no metal in the bed. That's one thing is EMFs. You want to sleep in an environment that preferably has no EMFs. I've seen people put Faraday cages over their beds using, silver lined sheets to hang like a canopy over the bed, making it almost like a chamber. I've seen people put pyramids over their bed. I've seen a lot of different things over the years, and I've tried a lot of different things as well. And my preference is definitely not doing all the silver sheets and all of that. I do prefer grounding my bed, which I love, but I don't feel the need to use any anti-EMF like cloths or clothing when I'm sleeping, because basically my whole house reads as 0 on an EMF meter because of all of the pyramids. And so a big thing that's important is, do you want to sleep in an environment, preferably your bedroom, obviously, that should have no EMFs. Your bedroom should have literally no radiation anywhere. Never put your Wi-Fi router in your bedroom. Preferably don't sleep with your, computer or phone in your bedroom either. And you don't want to have metal in your bed, because metal is like an antenna for EMF and electromagnetic fields. And this can be a good thing when applied for specific uses, like building pyramids and whatnot. But it's a bad thing when you're living in an environment like a city, when there's lots of EMFs everywhere that will kind of bounce off all the metals around the house and around the area as well. So you don't want to sleep in a metal frame bed. You want to either build it with wood or put the mattress on the floor. For me, that makes a big difference. I know a lot of people might not like that, but at the very least, just take the metal away and put the mattress on the floor. you'll probably see a big difference with that alone. And I get a lot of customer feedback as well on the pyramids that I sell from Orgonomy. So the Black Sun Giza models are really good for sleep. The Red Sun models also as well, really good for sleep. It really just depends what you're looking for, if you want to go all out or if you want to just have a simple setup. No matter how expensive your setup is, what's really important is not having any radiation in your bedroom. So I'd definitely recommend getting a bed and upgrading to a bed that doesn't have a metal frame or any metal screws anywhere. So the Swiss Dream bed, and I also have a code for them. If any of you are interested in getting it, you can use my name Sher, Sher, when you buy it. If you're interested in it, of course, just run my name past him. He's a really great guy that runs the company. It's a family-owned business and really great place to support. So basically the bed I'm using right now is an ergonomic bed that adjusts your spine. Again, it's called the Swiss Dream bed. It's the best bed that I've found currently that's affordable. There's a lot of different ones. There's like the avocado mattress, which I don't really like. It's just like a couple steps beyond that one. And the Swiss Dream bed basically gives you a chiropractic treatment when you're sleeping, and it adjusts your spine. I used to have a lot of back pain sleeping on many different mattresses, and I'm very young, so I shouldn't have back pain when I'm sleeping, and it's purely because of the posture and how my spine was being held by the mattress. So I figured that out, fixed it, and I haven't had any issues ever. Literally overnight when I got the Swiss Dream bed, everything's made out of virgin sheep wool. It's really awesome. My only thing that I'm learning with it is how to clean the virgin sheep wool, because you can't really put it in the it's very sensitive to wash. You always have to wash it by hand. But yeah, it's a great bed overall. Definitely 10 out of 10 would recommend. And if you guys are interested in that, definitely hit them up and use my name, mention it to them, and they'll give you a discount. There is another bed that I would recommend for those who are super loaded with money. It's like 18 grand. The Swiss Dream bed is only like 2 to 4 grand depending on the size. And that's a really, really good deal, because a lot of these unnatural beds out there contain, polyester fabrics, and they give off volatile organic compounds. Most people don't know that they're literally sleeping on a mattress that not only messes up their posture, but poisons them with gases that are off-gassing from the mattress with all the chemicals that it's made with. And you're breathing that in all night. That affects your whole circadian rhythm, throws off your rest. And so it's really important to get the most deep sleep as possible with the least disturbance. And so just be fully empty, when you go to bed, because then you're going to enter the REM cycle, and you want to be able to, go into that and then come out of it a few times throughout the night, and then wake up with the sun and basically follow the circadian rhythm of your body, which means essentially, as the sun comes up, you start to wake up. As the sun goes down, you start to wind down. So that's essentially that. And, when you throw off your circadian rhythm with all of the blue light on the phone, or if you work in a city late at night, it can really throw off your sleep schedule. And long term, things like that can cause cancer, because your body's thrown off and it, basically begins growing on an imbalance. So rest is really important. I've seen the richest people in the world, the healthiest people in the world, often say the same thing about rest, is that it is the most important thing. And I'm a night owl and an early bird. I'm a really hard and smart worker, so I struggle to with the sleep area, because I'm always go, and I actually don't need as much sleep as most people do. I'm good on 5 or 6 hours, and I'm solid, and my blood work and hormones are all super good. And I think it's just because of the way I live and all of the energy around me with pyramids and all the things that I've practiced and cultivated. And as long as I get a super solid quality around 6 hours, I'm good. And I do encourage taking naps in the day. The studies that I've read is around 17 minutes, quick naps, a power nap is what people call it, almost like a meditation. I like to throw a mantra on, whatever mantra that might help me with what I'm, wanting to go forward in my life, and just take a quick nap. Or I'll take a longer nap and really just allow myself to rest and make sure I don't have anything that I have to do. And why sleeping is so important, in my opinion, is because it encourages the parasympathetic state. And the more balance you have of your sympathetic and parasympathetic states, you gain more heart rate variability, you gain more dexterity and longevity in your life. So it's really important to have really solid relaxation time where you're in that parasympathetic state, throughout the day as well. And also, of course, when you're sleeping. To the brand that I had mentioned, it's called Samina, for those who are loaded. If you're listening, if you want to invest in the best of the best crazy bed, it's the Rolls Royce of all beds. It's almost 20 grand. they basically have everything in that bed, like a couple grand, like magnet grounding pad, all the same like wool stuff, nicer frames. It's more fancy, better customer service. There's just like there's so much to it. So that one's called Stamina. I've never tried that one, but they have a physical store in California as well. That's definitely the best of the best bed that I've found yet. I didn't get that one just because I don't see any point dropping that much money on a bed right now in my life. Just not realistic. Or practical. You know, I'm also very practical, and I like to reach people with practical things. You know, not everybody can spend 20 grand on a bed, but 3 grand, that's almost everyone, almost in everybody's range. So Swiss Dream Bed is my overall pick for the bed. And now that's out of the way, we can go into, you know, more finer details of, you know, what's going to improve your sleep, how to get the best sleep, so on and so forth. And that's the bed. You know, there's not really much more I can say on that. If you're going to sleep in a bed, that's the best one. If you find a better one for the same price, let me know and I'll make another podcast. But there's really nothing out there right now that I've seen in years of research that's better and more affordable than the Swiss Dream Bed. Because when it comes to biohacking and all this stuff, I'm looking for best quality and also best price. Sure, I can pay higher end for certain things, but a lot of times, you know, more money doesn't always equal higher quality when it comes to this kind of stuff. So you want a solid natural bed with no metal. You want your room to be EMF free. I would get an EMF tester in your room. If you don't have any sort of EMF protection, I would recommend getting a pyramid from Orgonomy. You could get one of the Blue Shield home units. That's great as well. Or whatever works for you. There's a couple of options. That's what I would recommend. Out of the thousands of pyramids that I've like made and distributed, one of the most common things that I get is, you know, like customer feedback wise is, oh wow, this really made me have lucid dreams, or I've never, you know, lucid dreamed before, and this pyramid really made my dreams wild. And it can definitely do that. So, and it also helps people sleep much deeper as well. So have to recommend that. Yeah, that's what I believe in my product, but even if it wasn't, I would still recommend it. 2 would be fabrics. Most people are sleeping in rooms filled with polyester and polyester fabrics. They got polyester pillowcases, polyester pillows, polyester sheets, polyester couch, polyester chair, polyester rugs. Like, all that shit is poison, and you should throw it in the trash where it belongs. And all that, again, is off-gassing in your room. You're breathing that in. And also, people have really bad quality mattresses that are giving off poison fumes that you're breathing in, which you can actually test with air quality testers. You know, you can buy at like Home Depot or other stores like that. You know, it's definitely not like a conspiracy or anything. They give off a ton of stuff that you're breathing in. And, you know, a lot of beds will even warn you that when you get them in the mail, it'll come with a slip warning you of the formaldehyde and other chemicals that you may be exposed to. So it's definitely not bullshit. And polyester, that as well, is another poison, which has all sorts of chemicals in it and forever chemicals beyond just, you know, the polyester microplastics itself. And for those of you who don't know, polyester, rayon, nylon, all of that is plastic. You know, I'd always stick to natural fabrics in your bedding and your clothing. It's going to keep you on like the purest energy yourself and also have the least amount of toxins. So organic cotton is totally a win. That's, I mean, you can literally get organic cotton sheets, you know, from a good company at like Target, you know, so it's pretty accessible. That's what I would recommend just as a starter. And then linen, again, you can't combine that with wool, so that doesn't really work with the Swiss Dream Bed. So organic cotton is going to be the overall best choice for most people when it comes to sheets and bedding. And I like to wash it all once a week, replace my pillowcases. That's also part of like my skincare routine is not only on my face, but just my whole body, because I like to sleep naked so my body can breathe and fully relax. And the oils from your face and your skin, you know, get on your pillowcase, and they can cause acne and certain things that can kind of disrupt your hormones. So it's good to keep everything clean. You know, I actually have a cleaner in my house too. I really like to stay on top of everything. And I also have air filters in every room. That's another thing with sleeping is the air quality. If you're breathing in crappy air that's super dusty, you're basically just breathing in poison, and you're never going to be able to reach a super deep level of your parasympathetic state because you have constant, you know, toxin overload. And of course you can be relaxed and bypass that on a mental level, but eventually it'll catch up to you. And it's really good to just have the purest air possible. And I'm doing a whole podcast episode about, air filtration and all of that. But essentially, the system I use for air filtration is the Aeroasis air filter. I don't have an affiliate code with them or anything like that, but you can check them out. I definitely recommend them. I don't make any money from that at all. The brand is Aeroasis. Their newest models are great. I have those in my house. And then number 2 is plants everywhere. See if you can get local plants, preferably that you can have indoors that thrive in indoor temps. And then number 3 is controlling the humidity in the air. If you combine those 3 things, you're pretty golden. You have perfect humidity in the air, no dryness, pure air, no dust, no allergens, no nanotech from chemtrails. You're breathing in just natural, good air inside. And there's a lot of studies that actually show, you can Google this, that the air inside is actually dirtier than the air outside. And so that's why it's really important to have an air filter, preferably in every room, unless you have a super open house with all the doors open with lots of circulation where the air filter can cover more radius. But ultimately, circulation, having a humidifier or dehumidifier, depending on where you live. I'm in Sedona, so I definitely need a humidifier. It's not always super humid here. On the dry days, it's definitely nice to have that. But if you're somewhere super, where it's super humid, like Hawaii, tropics, anywhere in like southern USA, you definitely don't need to worry about that. If anything, make it less humid and you'd sleep better. So it really just depends. But find that like ideal temperature, that pure like air feeling, and the ideal humidity when you're sleeping, and see what you do best with, and kind of find your rhythm with it. And you can really get into a good routine where you sleep really good, your breathing is dialed in. And that's also the next thing I want to talk about is breathing. Is crucial for sleep because, there's a huge correlation between the depth of your sleep and the depth of your breath. And I was actually going to make some content about this, and I'll talk about it on here too. It's called your respiratory rate. So in general, from what I have studied, if you're over 12 breaths a minute, in general, you're going to be in the sympathetic state, right? And you can control your nervous system state through your breathing. If you can really dial in and kind of exit out of your head and your mind, just focus on your breathing, which is definitely easier said than done. Make sure that you're breathing really slow throughout the day, and you have you practice what's called conscious breathing, which is basically just present awareness of breathing and making sure you're breathing from your diaphragm and your belly. And I'll make a whole YouTube video and probably podcast too on breathing, because a lot of people literally don't know how to breathe. And the easiest way to learn how to breathe right is look at a baby. They're always breathing with their chest slightly clenched up so they can fill their belly up, and then their body fully relaxes and the exhale comes out naturally on its own with no force. So that's the simplest way you can breathe, and you want to do that preferably in that under 12 breaths per minute while you're awake, and probably slower when you're sleeping too, or even slower when you're awake. It just depends. And also, you don't need to be in the parasympathetic state 24/7. It's just about having a balanced nervous system, because you do need sympathetic state. You don't do anything in life if you aren't in the sympathetic state. That doesn't always mean you're in survival. It means you could be doing things. You need to be active. You need to be stretching your nervous system as well. You need to exercise the sympathetic response, which is important. So overall, when you're on top of your breath consistently, you're going to get better sleep. And that's probably the most important thing overall. If you're not doing that, I don't think anything else you'll really get full results from, because your breath needs to be full, especially when you're asleep. I've noticed that a good solid sleep where I'm breathing really, really well the entire night, the whole day, I'm really good. Like emotionally, I'm set. My nervous system is set. But when I'm like shallow breathing in my sleep, because I have had a little bit of sleep apnea throughout my life because I have a deviated septum, and I've been working on strengthening my airway. It's not like fully deviated, it's like very slight, but it does definitely affect my airway when I'm sleeping specifically. And it kind of encourages mouth breathing when you're sleeping. So that also encourages dry mouth, and then that encourages cavities, yada yada. And if you've listened to my podcast before, you'll know that I've been through it with my teeth, and a lot of that was because of the dry mouth when I was sleeping, I realized. So why I ended up getting cavities. So that definitely played a role in it. So you can take care of your oral health, your cardiovascular health, your energy throughout the day just by breathing right when you're sleeping, and that's through your nose. And if you struggle to breathe through your nose when you're sleeping, you can be like me. Like I use one of those mouth tape strips every time I'm sleeping. It's just like a gentle like natural fiber, like piece of tape you put over your mouth. And some of them are a little extra, like the brands. I just don't resonate with it. Like one of them is called Hostage. I'm just like, I don't want to feel like I'm a hostage with tape on my mouth when I'm sleeping. Like, great like marketing idea, but better as an idea than than actually done. I don't know. I'm sure it makes money, but I don't know. I just never like to buy from companies. Like there's this company at the store. It's like natural grocers in town here, and it's like really good quality organic coffee, and it's called Death Wish coffee, or like that other one called Liquid Death water. It's like, I don't want to touch any of that stuff. Like, to me, sure, you might have a good quality product, but you totally ruined the energy with the branding and the name of it. So a lot of people, when they first start wearing mouth tape, it reminds them of like being like a hostage or something, because they're taping their mouth shut when they go to sleep, and it can be really uncomfortable, especially emotionally. And I've tried a couple brands, and not all of them are like that. You just want to use one of them that doesn't resemble like tape, like there's ones with like just like a natural little fiber pad that basically just gently squeezes your lips together. I am currently using Somnifix. That's a good one. That one's like clear, and it allows you to still breathe through your mouth, but what it does is just help you hold your like lips closed. Another really good company is, I think it's called dreamrecovery.io. That's their website. They have a very like, gentle mouth tape for at night. It's like a lot smaller and doesn't, remind you of like tape. Because a lot of people just aren't comfortable with the mouth tape thing, but it really gives such good results that most people do get over it that try it. So if you're somebody who snores, somebody who has sleep apnea, somebody who has any breathing issue of any kind during your sleep especially, I would definitely consider that. And also just the conscious breath through the day. You don't have to sit there and just do breath work all day. Just do it while you're doing stuff. Like I'm a very up and at it person, and unless I'm like physically exerted, I'm not going to want to sit still and meditate. I need to do both, and it's good to find that balance, whatever it's like for you too. Sometimes it's better for me to run and like go for a hike and do the breathing while I'm doing that versus just sitting still, or while I'm working or building pyramids. So you kind of have to find your flow with all of this and your rhythm. And that brings me into, one of the last things I want to talk about is the circadian rhythm. So that's really important, and lighting plays a huge role. The light or the sun goes up and down every day. Basically, your nervous system follows a pattern, almost like a sine wave, that resembles the sun going up and down, and basically ebbing and flowing, so we're awake, we sleep, we're awake, we sleep, ebbing and flowing. And there's a rhythm with that, and that rhythm can get thrown off by a zillion different things in this world. So it's good to minimize your toxin exposure, your blue light exposure, especially after the sun goes down. Put on Flux on your computer. That's a software that allows you to change the Kelvin, which is basically like the wavelength of light of the the blue light on the screen. You can get rid of the blue light, which really helps. So if you get rid of blue light and EMFs, just those two things will make a huge difference. Also, reading more when you wake up and before you go to bed is really nice for your circadian rhythm. Not on your phone, but like a physical book. Even an audiobook would be nice as well. Also, if you have a healthy lymphatic system, that will also help you, naturally pick up on, nature's circadian rhythm a little bit better, because I think we're all naturally connected to it. That's why we all get tired after a bit when the sun goes down. If we didn't naturally have that, then things would be different. But since that is a part of our biology that rules our health, our nervous system, everything, it's super important to dial in and be connected to the circadian rhythm. Like I like to get up at sunrise. I like to take a nap during the day because I like to stay up late as well. So I kind of sleep periodically. I don't really ever sleep full 8 hours, like ever. It's kind of like split up, and that works for me. That's asinine crazy for most people, but that works for me with my life and who I am and what I do. And it works. And my blood work, hormones, everything are solid. And if my hormones would be totally off if I wasn't getting good sleep. So definitely I'm well rested. So since I'm an early bird and a night owl, I have to rest also during the day. So I, take a nap. And if you're somebody that needs it to be super dark, which is always preferable, definitely wear a sleep mask. If you're in a city, get one of those like silk sleep masks, and that will cover all of the the light, because not only blue light, you don't want really any light when you're sleeping. You want it to be fully dark. If you've ever been camping in the woods, like, it's fully dark in nature out there. There's no light of any kind other than the stars and the moon. That's it. That should be the only light in your house at night, period, when you're asleep. Obviously if you get up, have your red lights, orange lights, candles, whatever. But overall, when you're asleep, you want absolutely no light. No light from the stove, no light from a smoke alarm, no light from the thermostat, from the, in the hallway, shining in the hallway, like nothing. You want literally pitch black. And preferably you want, open windows to where you can see the stars and be around that when you're sleeping. That's huge, because a huge part of the circadian rhythm is the stars and being connected to like the sky at night. And that's a big key a lot of people are missing in their health, that most people don't talk about. Even looking at the stars at night can drastically improve your vision, improve your spiritual connection, helps ground you. I mean, there's so many things. Helps get you into the parasympathetic state. So even if you're pitch black at night and you see no stars, that's also probably not good either. So you want to make sure you can see stars as well. And if you're in a city, do your best. So personally with me, I get up at sunrise. Like I said, I go to bed usually pretty early. If I didn't take a nap, but if I did take a nap in the day, then I'll definitely stay up through the night and go to bed at like 2 a.m. usually. And then I'll sleep till around sunrise and then do it again. And that works for me. I wake up with tons of energy. It's not like I wake up drained, all hungover. It's actually quite the opposite. A couple other things I want to go over. I'm just meditating on some ideas here about sleep that I'd like to share. Another one is oral health. That's a really big one. Don't make it a habit of going to bed without really brushing your teeth and cleaning your whole mouth out really well. Same with right when you wake up. Make that the last thing you do and the first thing you do, before and after sleep. Really important, because, the better your oral microbiome is, the better your circadian rhythm is. And believe it or not, the circadian rhythm actually rules over all of the bacteria in your body. And so does light in general. So, light is more important than anything else when it comes to all this stuff and hormones, circadian rhythm. So you want to make sure you're really on top of all these things. And so when you're on top of your oral health, that really helps your microbiome, thus resulting in better rest long term and deeper rest and just better health overall. Another common misconception that a lot of people preach nowadays is, stop eating once the sun goes down, stop eating 2 hours before you go to bed and all this. And honestly, I think that's total bullshit. I've really experimented with this for years, and at least for me, like, that's not true at all. And I actually don't think that's true for most people, especially almost literally everyone I've ever, consulted privately for their health, or anyone I've just helped in general. It's really hardly ever the case. I think you can definitely overeat and binge eat at night, or have the munchies or whatever lifestyle like you live. And that's definitely a thing. You don't want to overeat, but it's also a thing. Being fully nourished allows you to sleep deeper. Like, I can eat raw ice cream before bed, like an hour before bed, slowly wind down, and then brush my teeth like a half hour, 20 minutes after I brush my teeth. That's one thing that is preached around that I do believe. You should wait a little bit, like a half hour before you brush your teeth after you eat. But you can definitely still overeat. But for me, like, when I just do simple cream and honey or something like that, where I'm really nourished with like fat and enzymes and protein and stuff like that, especially fat and protein, I'm knocked out all night. I don't wake up at all. I sleep super deep, like for however long I need to sleep, which obviously, like I've said, usually is not 8 hours. And that works for me. And having that deep nourishment before bed is crucial. Even if I have like a steak, like late at night before bed, like I will sleep so much better, and take some like amino acid capsules and eat like a good amount of fruit, like all together, something like that before bed. I will sleep so good. Or have some like literal raw cream and raw honey, just eat them together like by the spoonful, or make ice cream with those two ingredients with some egg yolks, eat that before bed. You're going to get the best sleep of your life, because nourishment is so important before you go to bed. And having an empty stomach literally keeps me up at night if I'm not nourished enough. So if I didn't eat enough in the day and I'm trying to go to bed, my sleep will definitely be thrown off. So I think it's absolute BS to just basically stop eating after the sun goes down. I definitely wouldn't recommend that to anyone. Unless you're seriously trying to lose weight and you're eating a lot of food already, I wouldn't recommend that. It's just not really any point. To me, that is kind of like reverse intermittent fasting. And if if you guys follow me for a while, I think intermittent fasting is bullshit, and I'm not a fan of it. I did it for years, and it's not beneficial. It destroys your metabolism, and it can be beneficial in very like small time frames for people that could benefit from it. But overall, like with the state of the toxin load that people have and what they're dealing with, like it's really not the most ideal way to detox or lose weight or strengthen your metabolism long term. Like you're better off really nourishing your body and just, opening your detox pathways and getting in the infrared sauna, having deeper nourishment, like sweating, exercising, doing like the simple things that are actually proven to be much more effective. So never be afraid to eat before bed. Just make sure you're not eating bullshit food and you're eating clean food that's nourishing, that your body likes. Learning to listen to your body and the compass that your body has, that God created for you to help guide you, is really important. Learn to listen to your body. Then you'll naturally find yourself getting better sleep. You'll find your rhythm in things in life and circadian rhythm, and these are important things to do because then you can start to focus on the deeper things. Once your health and your sleep, everything's dialed in, then you can really dial in on who you are and grow and focus on, purpose and things like that. We're not out here meant to be, suffering, trying to figure it all out. Most things have already been figured out on the earthly plane, so it's like, don't waste your time on things that have already been figured out, right? It's like we have all the information at our fingertips. You don't have to go and try to figure everything out. Trial and error, yes, of course, but we don't have to do it all ourselves. Even this podcast, like imagine 20 years ago, somebody trying to figure all this out. Like the answers are literally everywhere, and you can experiment for yourself to see what works best for you. So that's pretty much everything I have off the top of my head with sleep here and what I believe to be effective and, what I'm currently doing. Most of my podcasts are just right off the noggin, right? Just right from source, from my experience as well. So one last thing is blue light glasses can be pretty helpful. I do have a pair from Raw Optics, and I have a code with them if you guys feel called to that, which is just my name, Sher, for I think 10 or 15% off. I can include the link in the description. I actually hardly ever wear them. I love them though. I've tried so many different brands of blue light glasses. Definitely would go with them. Probably wouldn't ever buy another brand again unless they're like somehow significantly better, because Raw Optics has everything that I would want, but I really don't wear them often. There's not much blue light around me. I have filters on my phone and computer. There's no blue light in my house, kind of thing, so it's kind of overkill. It actually strains my eyes if I like overblock it all, which I also wouldn't recommend. There was a time where I had just all red lights in my house and everything, and that's great and all of that, but it's not practical. And a lot of times I'm practical, sometimes I'm not, depending on what's needed. But like that's just not practical to have all red lights in your house at night, And the last thing I'll talk about is the lighting as well, because if you know me, I've been doing red lights in my house at night, no blue light at night for like 6-7 years, and within this past year I actually changed all of that and actually don't do red light at night anymore. I have a little red light that I use that I do like, but I don't rely on it or solely use that. I actually use orange lights and candles. And I have these special lights from the Healthy Home Shop, which I love their products, and I absolutely love like recommending them to people. I have a code with them as well, and I love like sharing and selling their stuff because it's literally like the best, lighting system out there. And basically what the Healthy Home Shop does is they've created a light bulb that follows their circadian rhythm. So essentially when you first turn it on in the morning, it's daylight. Like the wavelength of the light is more white. It's like a daylight wavelength, which is like higher Kelvin. If you look up lighting is measured in Kelvin, and a couple other things that are more advanced, but really unnecessary to talk about with all of this. And as the day goes on, when you switch the light on again, it goes to the sunset mode and then campfire mode. So sunset is like the same wavelength of light as the sunset. And obviously you have that on all the bulbs in your house during sunset time and sunrise. And then campfire mode is basically the night mode. So I replaced all my red lights with the mode on these new lights called campfire mode or night mode. And it's basically the same like wavelength of light as a campfire, which I actually find way more beneficial than doing just the red lights at night. I still do red light therapy every day. I have a red light panel I turn on at night a lot too with all the orange lights. But overall, when it comes to lighting at night, nothing can even compare to those campfire lights or the campfire setting on the Healthy Home lights. No, I mean, you can't even compare it. And like I said, it's not practical. You can't even do dishes in the red light. What if you're winding down and you got all, the blue lights off at night and you had dinner and all that. And now you have to do the dishes and now all the red lights are on. It really is a pain in the ass. And then you wake up and see that you missed a couple things that you couldn't see because all the lights were red, and it's a pain in the ass. And it's just not practical. And any little stressor like that will affect you long term. So it's all this should make your life easier, not harder, guys. So if all the biohacking health stuff is making your life harder, take a step back, because that defeats the entire purpose of it. With the Healthy Home lights, I can do dishes, and the orange light, I can see colors. I actually even have them in my pyramid workshop for at night, because that was one thing I wanted to figure out, because I didn't like working late nights in the brighter lighting, so I can see the colors and everything, and this works great. So I can have the campfire light bulb setting on all the bulbs in my workshop, and it's basically like the same. It's like a fire is in there at night, but I can see all the colors as well, and I have enough lighting, so it actually works great. So I would recommend that for any workshop, any business, any home as well. I mean, really cool, really, really unique product. That's honestly one of my favorite products I could recommend to anybody is the Healthy Home Shop lighting. They basically have, normal light bulbs you can put into lamps and stuff. Then they have the recessed lights you can put in the ceiling or floor. And then they have like a night light and a couple other things. But big fan of their stuff. And I do have a code with them, Sher, Sher, which should give you a discount as well if you want to invest in those for your house. It's definitely worth it. So that's pretty much all I got when it comes to sleep. The lighting was the last thing that I had forgotten. And that's pretty much it. Just make sure you're dialed in on everything. And I'd like to do a feng shui episode too, where we can go even deeper with this stuff. But essentially, find your flow, find your rhythm, and see what works for you. And, once you kind of find your rhythm, try to improve your space, like your physical space, your health, like 1% a day at least, and that would definitely start to make a big difference in your life long term. And that's pretty much all I got for sleep. I'll definitely come back with updates as I have them. And thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys so much for being here with me. And let me know any feedback or questions you might have. Feel free to message me on Instagram. All my social medias are always in the descriptions. And see you on the next episode.